we're in this scenario now where Hamas have come out and said, thanks for the recognition when it comes to the potential recognition of Palestine. We all know, and again, you've heard all of the obvious arguments, and rightly so, for the past few hours. But of course, it is ultimately symbolic. Why? Because unless the United States really backs in here, then it's going to be more, motions in and around the United Nations. Surprise, surprise, Albo did it. He's always wanted to do it. He's of that, and it's one of the dreams. But we're in this scenario where the Libs are now saying that if it was a scenario where they were to come to government after it had happened, that they would reverse it. Steve, what do you think about this? Is this one of those things where once you recognise a country, you don't unrecognise a country, or because we are talking about a territory that is currently being ruled by the evils of Hamas, who have not had an election for 20 years, that yes, you can reverse it?
Well, look, just firstly, on Hamas and this alleged claim victory, they're like the Black Knight in Monty Python. They have been wiped out in any effective military force. I'll always argue you can't wipe out an ideology like that, but they're like the Black Knight. Limbs chopped off, and it's just one of those classic scenes. So them claiming they've had some sort of victory today is like just a meaningless statement. I'm very critical of the Netanyahu in Israel. I think Hamas are playing him on a break. He is delivering to Hamas their only, Pyrrhic victories along the way here. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis marched in the streets just last week against what Netanyahu's doing. His own intelligence services, his own military leadership are telling him there is no military purpose to the operation in Gaza. I'm happy to stand with all of those hundreds of thousands of Israelis marching against Netanyahu. I'm not prepared to sign up to whatever Netanyahu wants to say and do because he's being held to control of by 3% of the Israeli population who are fanatics in his equally as crazy way as some of those extremists on the Palestinian side. So I think this is a much overblown issue. We sort of tacitly understand that despite the combined might of the entire American military forces, plus the coalition of the willing, we went into Afghanistan.
20 years.
Killed, job done. Remember the big flag? We killed off the Taliban, and guess what? They're in charge of Afghanistan again. And you just got to sometimes grit your teeth and just accept that that's the circumstance. But Taliban claiming a statement that says Taliban have got to be excluded as a victory for them, that's not a bad effort.
Yeah. Mia, again, your thoughts here on how the opposition is reacting to it. Here's, in fact, what Michaelia Cassius had to say. She is their Shadow Foreign Affairs spokesperson. Let's have a look.
It is reckless, it is disappointing, but more than that, it does nothing to change the situation on the ground for the Palestinian people.
All right, Mia, other things to come, but your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have to agree with the Libs on this one. It's a completely symbolic gesture and it will not change the situation on the ground. But I do have to commend them for coming out against this. I think Albanese has just read the room completely wrong on this one. First of all, he says, Hamas will not welcome this. And the next day we wake up to not only Hamas welcoming this decision, but applauding it. And the second point is here, everyone wants to see peace in the Middle East. Both Labor and the Liberals, they want to see that peace. But that peace is not achievable. We cannot get there, and all these promises are just hollow, empty promises until Hamas returns the hostages, they agree to disarm, and they recognise Israel's right to exist behind secure borders. Until that happens, all of this is just hollow, empty promises. And I'd also point out that I'm extremely concerned about Albanese's read of this situation when it comes to our relationship with the United States. They've been in very firm support of Israel on this one. And here we are, not only have we abandoned our most important democratic ally in the Middle East, but now we've abandoned our most important democratic ally in the Western world. And I think it's extremely concerning, and I don't think Albanese gets it.
All right. Now, let's turn here to the 4-day week conversation, because, again, one of the joys of this time of night is everyone's sort of heard the overall arguments, and it's nice to bring up a different way into this. My way into this is, look, again, if you can get a 4-day week, good luck to you. If a boss is willing to give it to you and the organisation's big enough, but should we be changing the law to compel compel a small business to do it? No, right? For the record, 5 days here at Sky, 5 Sunday nights all the way through to Thursday, okay? Here I am just working away. Sure, not a 24/7 Prime Minister. I mean, that is a serious job. It's only so long I can take the piss on that, but I will. But here's the thing, where Mia, I think the real play here is, look, okay, maybe 5-10 years down the track, fine, someone might make this the rule or that becomes the rule for the public service. I think the play really here for the unions is to create a third day of the weekend for penalty rates. What do you think?
Yeah, I have no doubt there, Paul, that you might be onto something with that one. Listen, if they want to go one step further and impose a one-day work week, but only for Chris Bowen, then I'd be completely fine with that, so we'd stop ruining our country. But other than that, I mean, these round tables, they're just a talk fest. That's all they are. And listen, the Labor Party, they won the federal election in a landslide, so they're allowed to hold their round tables with their usual cheerleaders. That's expected, but let's not hold this up as anything more than that. It's a massive talk fest. I mean, if businesses want to impose a 4-day work week for their own business, sure, go ahead. Does the government need to be imposing this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, again, it's that thing, Stephen, where I know what the response, I know the conversation about work from home and the third rail and I understand that, right? But surely it is about the relationship between, because inevitably, surprise, surprise, if you're the business who says, look, come and work for Conroy Inc., 4 days a week, same money, you'll be fine. Guess what? Oh, when I've got to choose, that's how this will work its way out. But if you change the law or you make the compulsion, the poor bugger who's running the Indian food thing at the shopping centre has got to move around the staff and pay extras here and there. That's what annoyed me about this, not the concept of what most and millions of workers would go, what, same money, less work, where do I sign up?
Look, I think a couple of good points were made there. But the most important thing is this is a policy proposal, not of the government. And I think they've even said later today that they're not going to go down this path. I mean, there's lots of ideas that are being thrown up at this economic roundtable. It's good to have a discussion. The government aren't committed to implementing anything that is being put forward. So I think it's good to have a discussion, but I'm not expecting this to be an outcome. I'm not expecting the government to adopt this, and I'm certainly not expecting the government to legislate it.
All right, last one here, and I've got literally less than a minute to ask you about something complicated, which, of course, is Trump and Putin coming up later in the week. Stephen, your expectation, we'll know within 2 minutes because both of them leave, or something might actually happen?
No, look, I think Trump's just continuing a masterful display of look over here, just don't mention Epstein. What I think will come from it is, Trump is on track to betray Ukraine and democratic values. And Australia won't be on the same side as this. And does that mean we've got the same massive split with our democratic ally? We're entitled to have a different opinion on Ukraine as well as in Israel.
All right. Mia, your thoughts on whether we're going to know quickly or whether something substantial happens here?
I don't know. I think this is a pretty complicated one. I mean, we're dealing with Putin here, so who really knows what's going to come out of that? But, I mean, you've got to commend Trump. At least he's stepping up and trying to broker some kind of peaceful talk here. So there's got to be something in that.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll see you again very soon. Mia at Star is Born. She'll be back. Stephen, of course, back next week.